Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to the next module in the channeling course. In this one, we're going to explore the inner feminine and the inner masculine and how these energies are alive within us. So, first of all, these distinct energies are within everybody, regardless of their gender at birth or their gender identity or gender expression. And a lot of the concepts about gender that are kind of added on in our society, like women act this way, women wear this, women like to do this, men do this, men like to do that, are actually sorts of things that are resulting out of cultural constructs and not out of the inner architecture of our energy body. Now, this also does have some basis in reality, because when we look at this, we see that in men and women, there's generally a difference in the brain structure. And this also is different for people who are queer, both gay or trans. People of one gender can tend to have the brain makeup of the opposite gender, that the opposite of their gender assigned at birth. So there's some flexibility here. Now, what comes through the Pleiadians and other channeled beings, as I tapped into them about this and have discovered this through many channeled works, is that even before we get these kind of impressions in our childhood about what it means to behave as one gender or another, we are informed by our other lifetimes. And of course, in these other lifetimes, regardless of those genders, we have both of the energies working through us. So a lot of the ways that we express our feminine or masculine tie into these parallel lifetime bleed throughs into this one. And then from there, all of the experiences we have, not just from our parents, especially from our parents, but from the people of one gender or another, then start to inform the ways we relate to our own sense of masculinity or femininity. So our sense of that also, to a degree, lines up with the inner energy in the body. Now, we can see the feminine energy as the more creative impulse. It's the left side of the body and the right side of the brain. And the right side of the brain has all to do with creative, non-rational thought. And it has to do with our feelings, because it's connected a lot with the heart. The heart connects up to the right side of the brain, and the right side of the brain sees things in holistic perspectives rather than seeing the leaf as its own unique thing. The right side, the holistic thinking, sees, oh, the whole plant is part of a whole ecosystem. The masculine left side of the brain has to do with logic and cause and effect. And it has to do with mathematics, language, everything that structures and forms our perception of reality in that sense. And so we do live in a time where the feminine principle has been sort of stifled by the masculine principle. And this is something that has occurred both in this civilization and the previous civilizations of Atlantis, Lemuria, and even before that through different systems in the galaxy. This is the theme that has been explored through evolution. And in a way, it kind of, relates to, even in our biology, we see animals behaving in this way, where the alpha male takes control and dominates others. So through spiritual evolution, we come to transcend that programming to function in different ways. And the Pleiadians and all these higher beings say that our soul does not have gender. It's only our body that has gender. And so many people kind of waking up to go beyond the constructs of that and identifying or not identifying, whatever. But people waking up to go beyond the constructs of that are tapping into that evolution at a soul level, where our soul is totally beyond this concept, and it's just our body that expresses this, and our human self persona has to go through this balance of the energies. And even balance is maybe not the right word, because actually when we're talking about Kundalini and Tantra and the energies moving through our body, we don't really want balance. We want dynamism. There's this power to the cycles of how things go back and forth between different modes of expression. So, we go through a process of Kundalini rising, and then we go through a process of the energy descending down and grounding. And we don't ever want to be kind of totally focused in one place. There's a power to being able to lift up and off, and then there's a power to coming down to earth, and allowing that dynamic flow back and forth between these energies is really important. So again, how these energies have manifested into our world is we have been in this masculine aspect, and again the masculine aspect is seeing the individual parts, and so we focused on the parts that have valued the most to us, like our technology, finances, and our entertainment, you could say, or the business of it, not even the entertainment itself, the business aspect of it. These are what we have focused on as society, because this is what our value system has been in. And these values, you could say that the masculine energy has emphasized them, but the values themselves come from the survival, unconscious survival mode that we have been in. The fear-based nature of it has brought us to focus on those things that can keep us alive the longest and can keep us safe, and also this mode of focusing on separation. The fear-based energy of separation has kept us as distinct groups of people. And of course, everything has a positive and negative aspect. On one hand, we wouldn't have all the diverse cultures of the world if it wasn't for this fear-based energy that allowed us to, or led us to, rather, form these distinct cultural bubbles. And now there's this merging, and there's some degree of resistance to that merging. But the Divine Feminine waking up means that we see ourselves as part of the ecosystem of the world, rather than we are just here on the earth doing our thing. Every action is interconnected, rather than we're here in our country doing our thing. Everything we do in this country is related to those people over there. Their well-being and our well-being is intertwined. And the feminine energy, the heart, starting to pick up on that. So there's this collective shift and awakening to seeing how this feminine energy and this impulse of the Divine Feminine has been suppressed for so long. And again, it has to do so much with our heart. It's a mind-based society moving into a heart-based one. And so when we see that perhaps many people will have a really wonderful relationship with women in general, but have a very bad relationship with the Divine Feminine. So there's a correlation between these energies, but they're not necessarily all the same. So everything that we learn about how we are to behave, to conform to our gender, can sometimes suppress aspects of the other gender. That, we're told we have to be like a boy, so we don't act feminine. We're told we have to act like a girl, so don't act masculine. Girls like this, boys like that. Those concepts fall away, and that's something that we can come to deconstruct more as we do tap into these higher levels of experience. And there will be a video of how we can directly connect into the feminine and masculine within ourselves and kind of bring them to union. So the goal is union, not balance. And everyone will always have a bigger predomination of one of those energies, or sometimes they're balanced in equally masculine, equally feminine. And that's generally something that can change over a lifetime, but is pretty generally just how it is. Yet that doesn't mean that people are not suppressing one side of the coin or exaggerating the other. So say somebody is like 70% masculine and 30% feminine, they can be suppressing that feminine energy still. And a lot of people like to work with numbers. It helps the masculine part of us to get a sense, oh, I'm this much that and this much that. And generally in channeling, you can channel a number, the first number that comes. It's usually pretty accurate. They're, in a way, not that important from my perspective to know I'm this much this or that much that. It's what it is. So we'll only really know how our kind of flow of those energies is, which energy we predominate in, when we stop suppressing all of those energies. So it's important to look at belief systems. If we feel like we have to behave a certain way to match our gender, then we're kind of deceiving ourselves and playing into this long-standing game that has been suppressing the feminine in general and keeping us stuck in very limited ways of thinking and being. And so our way of relating to people of a certain gender is a bit different than our expression of that energy within ourselves, but there is a relationship. So if we find that there's consistently like a resistance to people of a certain gender or expressing very powerfully masculine or feminine energy, then we need to kind of do that inner child process to uncover memories where people of that gender have kind of suppressed or oppressed us, or that we have been forced to change our expression to not be this or that. And doing that process can really help us unleash those blockages. And perhaps I noticed that even after clearing a lot of those resistances, I will still feel in other people a resistance to their energy when they're resisting, for example, the feminine energy or the masculine energy within them. And I can just feel there's, what they say is toxically masculine or toxically feminine energies. We're always going to have a little jolt and resistance to those energies. So no matter how many times you do this process, if somebody is not balanced in that regard, that's on them and not on you. There's a kind of tendency in the spiritual community to just see one side of the coin. So the mainstream society is more focused on blaming the other person, but the spiritual world is understood, oh wow, I'm creating my reality, so it's about me. So can be a tendency for a while to interpret everything that happens as being about you, and I'm not about that. So don't fall into that trap. It's a bit of both. Yes, you attract and create that. And yes, sometimes some people are behaving in ways that are just absurd. And they're programmed in ways that are a bit absurd. And that's not on you. That's on them. Inside of your body, you will feel these energies. So say if you have a big resistance to the feminine energy, you will feel it in the left side of your body, or you will feel it as a block to your imagination. If you have a big resistance to the masculine energy, you'll feel it as a block in the right side of your body, or an inability to move forward and take action. So it's important to be able to interpret this in your body as how that's relating. And there's always a feminine and masculine component to everything. Feminine component being more receptive, creative, masculine being the more action oriented part of it. So all the chakras are again, receiving energies. And this as well, you can correlate with the back side of your body. The back side of your body takes in energy. The front side of your body projects that energy outward. So equally, you can interpret as a block to the feminine energy in one area as unable to receive an energy related to that. Heart blockage, inability to receive love. Sacral blockage, inability to receive creativity, pleasure, and sexuality, so on and so forth. Our solar plexus, inability to receive validation and power and support. Anyway, so as we balance these energies, or heal rather these energies within us, very powerful things can happen. And in the group practice this week, we will actually play a role of channeling for other people their feminine energy, and another person will channel their masculine energy, another person will channel their inner child energy. As oftentimes in our childhood, this is before so many of the concepts develop. We almost express before that puberty phase as more gender neutral, and this is where we receive all of those concepts of like, I have to fit into this box or that one. So our inner child is in a way a more gender neutral zone that can merge both of them. So we will do that practice of connecting every aspect and seeing how they relate. And again, understanding there that these figures in our lives can really play a big role as to how that energy manifests within us or not. Diving even deeper. So a lot of these past civilizations like Atlantis, even the star system Lyra, is considered more masculine in its focus and energy, and they have caused kind of havoc to the feminine. And this energy still comes with us into our society now. We see this as an end of patriarchy, and there's many different perspectives on this. The Pleiadians have even said, Bashar has said as well, that there was once another moon that had a masculine charge, and the Atlanteans destroyed that moon in their attack on Lemuria. And this then led to, there's more feminine energy here than there is masculine energy, and that actually exacerbates the feeling of lack of control that motivates the masculine and males who embody that masculine energy more to enact the sort of travesties onto the world. And even beyond that, we can see, this sort of alpha male approach as really originating from our biology. It's kind of the way that animals are programmed, but we do have to come to transcend it, because unconsciously living out that fear has now created many, many different systems. And what you will see is most people do not have a very big suppression of their masculine energy. Most people have more of a suppression of their feminine energy as a result of this. This is not always the case. I had a suppression of my masculine energy, perhaps to an extent, still do. And this comes from when people are suppressing that usually more traumatic experiences people have had with men or male people who have not felt able to fit in with the very oppressive way that men are asked to show up in their world and society. So that's one blockage, but the general blockage is of the feminine. And it's all about learning to live from that heart-centered place. When we understand, again, this right brain hemisphere, which is generally bigger in women than it is in men, and also in queer people, there can be a bigger right brain. It's a greater openness to the irrational impulse of the heart that sees things as a whole. And when we have this shift in values to prioritize the heart, because that's where we feel and exchange love, that's where we're able to connect things together, then this feminine energy can be birthed again in us. And in the world, this has to do with really allowing the logical and rational part of us to start to bow to the heart, and understanding that those that are in a way more connected to the heart and that impulse of creativity are the ones that are actually meant to lead the way. And then the mind is meant to honor the heart, to find how that excitement then seeks to express into the world, and use everything it knows and can understand and can decipher to make that action the easiest and smoothest possible. And you can also see this as, okay, well, if in general women have more of that creative receptive component, then they're actually meant to be the leaders of the future, and men are there to take action based on what this feminine energy can receive and put out as the future. This comes through many different spiritual teachings of the time. So I'm not the first one saying it, but I do feel a resonance with what I channel, that this is kind of how we're moving forward. So yeah, this is kind of priming the pump. I don't want to put in every meditation every week. There will be a meditation next week to connect inside with your own inner masculine and feminine. And for now, we're going to allow it to play out. Or maybe I'll upload it this week. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, much love and blessings. Thanks for tuning in, and have a bright and brilliant day.